It all started with a casual conversation. Nothing out of the ordinary, just laughter, a few jokes, and some personal thoughts shared between friends. But in a world where trust is often an illusion, I never realized that someone had been listening more closely than I ever imagined. My name is Daniel Carter. A few months ago, I was just like anyone else, working hard, dreaming big, and trying to carve a place for myself in this world. I had no enemies, no scandals, and no reason to believe that anyone would be watching me. But that's the thing about life. It never warns you before it changes. It was a Tuesday morning when everything began to unravel. I woke up to a message from an unknown number. The text was simple but chilling. Listen carefully. Attached was an audio file. Confused, I hesitated for a moment before pressing play. And then I heard it, my own voice. The recording was from a conversation I barely remembered. Something casual I had said at a cafe with a friend. But there was something sinister about hearing my own words played back to me by a stranger. My heart pounded. Who recorded this? And more importantly, why? A second message followed. This is just the beginning. You don't realize how valuable your words are, but soon you will. I felt a wave of unease wash over me. I wasn't famous. I wasn't powerful. What could anyone possibly gain from secretly recording me? I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that it was some sort of prank. But deep down, I knew this was no joke. I spent the rest of the day trying to push the thought aside. But the world wasn't going to let me forget. That night, I received an email. The subject line sent a chill down my spine. Your voice is now out there. Attached was a link. My hands trembled as I clicked on it. And what I saw made my stomach drop. It was a video. My voice had been stitched together, manipulated into a speech I had never given. The words, though spoken in my tone, were twisted into something dark, something incriminating. They had made it sound like I was plotting something terrible. And the worst part? The video was already spreading. The comments were a storm of accusations. People were horrified, some outraged, others simply curious. How could he say something like this? This is why you can't trust anyone these days. I always knew there was something off about him. Panic clawed at my chest. This wasn't real. I hadn't said those things. But the internet doesn't care about the truth. It only cares about the story. I scrambled to call my closest friend, Michael. He picked up after a few rings. Mike, you have to believe me. Someone is using my voice, distorting it. I never said those things. There was silence on the other end. Then he sighed. I don't know, man. The video, it sounds just like you. My heart dropped. If my best friend doubted me, what chance did I have against the rest of the world? The messages kept coming. Some were threats. Some were demands. Others were offers, people willing to help me clear my name for a price. And then another text. You don't have a choice, Daniel. If you want this to stop, you'll do exactly as I say. I was being blackmailed, but I wasn't going to give in. Whoever was doing this thought they could control me. They thought fear would make me weak. But they had underestimated one thing. I wasn't just going to clear my name. I was going to find them. And when I did, they would wish they had never pressed record. I wasn't going to let fear control me. Whoever was behind this had made a mistake. They underestimated me. I wasn't just some helpless victim. If they wanted to play games, I was ready. The first step was figuring out how they got the recording. I retraced my steps, tried to remember every conversation I'd had in the past few weeks. My mind kept circling back to one place, the cafe. It was the last time I remembered having that conversation, the one used in the fake video. But that place was always crowded. How could anyone have recorded me without me noticing? I went back the next morning, scanning the room carefully. Everything looked normal. People on their laptops, quiet chatter, the smell of fresh coffee in the air. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A security camera, right above the table where I had been sitting. I rushed to the counter. Hey, do you keep security footage from a few days ago? The barista raised an eyebrow. You'd have to ask the manager about that. I didn't have time for bureaucracy. I stepped aside and pulled out my phone, quickly searching for ways to access local security feeds. I wasn't a hacker, but I knew someone who could help. I called an old college friend, Liam, a cybersecurity expert. Liam, I need a favor. Someone used my voice to frame me. I think there's a recording from a cafe that can prove it. Can you get it? Liam hesitated. That's illegal, you know. So is blackmail. A sigh. Fine. Send me the details. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Got it. I opened the file. The footage showed me sitting at my usual table. But then, there it was, a man, sitting 2 tables away, subtly adjusting something on his phone. A small, black device sat next to his coffee cup. A voice recorder. I zoomed in on his face. My hands clenched into fists. I knew him. His name was Marcus Vale. We had worked together years ago. Back then, he was always the quiet type, always watching. But why would he do this? Another text came through. You're smarter than I thought, but knowing my name won't help you. You have 24 hours to comply, or the next recording will ruin you completely. I smirked. He thought he had control, but he was wrong. I wasn't running anymore. I was coming for him. I knew Marcus Vale wasn't bluffing. If he had gone this far to manipulate my voice, there was no telling what else he was capable of. But I wasn't about to let him win. He thought he had control over the situation. What he didn't realize was that I was already 3 steps ahead. I needed proof, undeniable evidence that he was the one behind this. The cafe footage was a start, but it wasn't enough to expose him. I had to catch him in the act. I called Liam again. I need something to track him, something untraceable. Liam sighed. Man, you're really pushing it. But I do have something. A digital tracker, small enough to stick onto anything. If you can get close enough to plant it, we'll know exactly where he goes and what he does. Perfect. Now, I just needed to get to Marcus without him realizing I was on to him. I sent him a text. Me, I want to talk. Face to face. Name the place. Seconds later, he replied, Marcus, you finally see reason. Good. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th Street. Midnight. A warehouse at midnight? Classic villain move. But I wasn't walking into his trap. I was setting my own. At exactly 11:50 p.m., I arrive at the location. It was an abandoned building, dimly lit by a single flickering streetlight. The perfect place for a setup. I wasn't alone. Liam had tapped into nearby surveillance cameras, watching my every move from his laptop. If things went south, at least someone would know what happened. Marcus was already inside, standing in the shadows. He smirked when he saw me. I knew you'd come. I clenched my fists. You're going to tell me why you're doing this. He chuckled. You still don't get it, do you? Your voice is powerful, Daniel. More powerful than you realize. People believe what they hear. And I've made sure they hear exactly what I want them to. I stepped closer, subtly slipping the tracker onto his briefcase. And what is it you want? His smirk widened. You'll find out soon enough. I knew I wasn't getting more out of him tonight. So I turned and walked away, keeping my face neutral even as my heart pounded. The second I was out of sight, I whispered into my earpiece. Liam, track him. A pause. Then got him. Game on. The moment I walked out of that warehouse, I knew things were about to escalate. Marcus had been careful, too careful. He didn't give away his full plan, which meant he still had cards to play. But now, so did I. Liam's voice crackled in my earpiece. He's on the move, heading west toward the industrial district. I jumped into my car, keeping a safe distance as I followed Marcus through the city streets. The roads were empty, the streetlights casting long shadows over the pavement. My hands gripped the wheel as I replayed our conversation in my head. Your voice is powerful, Daniel. Why me? What was it about my voice that made me valuable to him? Liam interrupted my thoughts. He just turned into an office building. No name, no markings, definitely suspicious. I pulled up a block away, cutting my headlights. The building was tall and dark, with only a few dimly lit windows on the upper floors. Marcus wasn't working alone. I needed to get inside. I crept toward the entrance, my pulse steady but alert. The door was locked, but that wasn't a problem. A quick scan of the perimeter led me to a fire escape. Climbing up, I found a window slightly open on the third floor. Slipping inside, I found myself in a dimly lit hallway. The air was thick with the smell of dust and old paper. I moved carefully, keeping my steps light as I listened for any sign of movement. Then voices. I pressed myself against the wall, inching toward an open office door. Inside, Marcus was speaking to someone over secure line. The next phase is almost ready. Once the new recording is released, he won't have a way out. A pause. No, he doesn't know yet, but he's getting too close. My jaw tightened. Whatever Marcus was planning, I was running out of time to stop it. Then something else caught my eye, a laptop on the desk, screen still glowing. If I could get to it, maybe I could find out what was coming next. Carefully, I slipped into the room while Marcus had his back turned. I had seconds. Plugging in a small USB drive, I began transferring files to Liam's remote server. Come on, I whispered under my breath. The progress bar crawled forward. 40%, 60%. Then a shadow moved behind me. Marcus had turned. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then, "You shouldn't have come here, Daniel." I grabbed the USB and ran. Marcus lunged toward me, but I was faster. I bolted out of the office, racing down the dimly lit hallway. My heart pounded as I heard his footsteps thundering behind me. "Stop, Daniel," he shouted. Not a chance. I reached the fire escape, throwing myself out the window just as Marcus burst into the room. The cold night air hit my face as I gripped the metal ladder and climbed down as fast as I could. But Marcus wasn't giving up. I heard the sound of the gun cocking. Drop the USB, or I swear. I didn't wait to hear the rest. I jumped the last few feet to the ground, rolling as I landed. The second my feet hit the pavement, I sprinted toward my car. A gunshot rang out. The bullet hit the metal railing behind me, sending sparks flying. I dove into the driver's seat, slamming the door shut. Tires screeched as I tore down the road, my breath coming in short, sharp gasps. "Liam," I panted into my earpiece. "Tell me you got the files." A pause. Then, "Yeah, but you're not going to like this." Back at my apartment, I plugged in the USB and stared at my laptop screen. The files were filled with doctored voice recordings, not just of me, but of other people, too. Politicians, CEOs, even celebrities. Marcus wasn't just targeting me. He was running a full-scale operation, using AI and deepfake technology to manipulate voices and control narratives. Liam's voice was tense. "This goes way deeper than we thought." I clenched my jaw. Marcus had been one step ahead of me this entire time, but now I had proof. It was time to expose him. But before I could do anything, my phone buzzed. A video message. I pressed play and my stomach dropped. It was me. Or at least, it sounded like me. The video showed me admitting to crimes I had never committed. Fraud, blackmail, even worse things I couldn't begin to process. Marcus's voice followed. "You thought you were in control, Daniel. But tomorrow, the whole world will hear this. And by then, no one will believe a word you say." I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I had the proof to take him down. But if he released this fake confession before I could act, no one would ever trust me again. Time was running out. I had one shot to stop him, and I couldn't afford to fail. Marcus had me cornered. By the time the sun rose, the fake confession would be out, and my life would be over. Everything I had worked for, every ounce of credibility I had, would vanish. I had no choice. I had to act now. I turned to Liam. "Can you trace where Marcus is planning to release the video from?" Liam's fingers flew across his keyboard. "Give me a sec." "There. He's uploading it to a private server, set to go public at exactly 8 a.m. I glanced at the clock. For 12 a.m., less than 4 hours. "Can you stop it?" I asked. Liam hesitated. "Not remotely. The system is locked down. If I try to hack it, he'll know and release it early." I gritted my teeth. That meant I had one option. I had to get to Marcus before the video went live. And I knew exactly where to find him. By 4:45 a.m., I was back at the warehouse. The building was dark and silent, but I knew Marcus was inside. His car was parked in the alley, and I could see the faint glow of a computer screen through a second-floor window. I moved quickly, sticking to shadows. The front door was locked, but I had no intention of using it. Instead, I climbed the fire escape, just like last time. But this time I was ready. I slipped in through the window and crept down the hall. Marcus was in the main office, his back turned to me, staring at his computer screen. He was monitoring the upload, completely unaware that I was standing right behind him. I moved fast. Before he could react, I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the desk. Cancel the upload. Now! He chuckled, his expression eerily calm. You're too late, Daniel. I glanced at the screen. Upload progress. 73%. My heart pounded. I had seconds to act. Marcus smirked. Even if you stop this one, I have backups. Your voice is mine now. I clenched my fists. He thought he had control, but he didn't know my next move. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Marcus's own voice filled the room, a recording of him admitting to everything. Your voice is powerful, Daniel. More powerful than you realize. People believe what they hear, and I've made sure they hear exactly what I want them to. His smirk disappeared. I had secretly recorded our last conversation at the warehouse, and now I had the evidence to destroy him. I grabbed his keyboard and smashed the server's hard drive. Sparks flew as the system crashed. The upload gone. Marcus lunged at me, but I dodged, knocking him to the ground. He scrambled to reach his phone, probably to trigger another upload, but I was faster. I grabbed the phone and called the only number that mattered, the police. By the time the sun rose, Marcus Vale was in handcuffs, and his entire operation had been exposed. His database of stolen voices was seized, his manipulated videos dismantled. The world knew the truth. And my name? Cleared. But this wasn't just about me. Marcus had proven something terrifying, that in the wrong hands, a voice can be a weapon. And if there was one thing I had learned from this nightmare, it was time to take my voice back.